Hey, what's up you guys? I have a interesting video to share with you today. I've made here a motor. This is kind of like a really unique, unusual motor, electric motor this will be. But I've kind of tried to base the design from this off of a conventional internal combustion engine. How an internal combustion engine works and how that kind of looks similar to this is mainly you've got two main features that I've taken from the internal combustion engine is the piston and barrel that's here, and what this is called a crankshaft. So this basically spins and it pushes the piston up and down inside of the barrel as it rotates around. Usually within an internal combustion engine, and why this is different to this, is it hasn't got a cylinder head. On the cylinder head you have your fuel and air mixture that are sent in through the cylinder head via either a carburetor or fuel injection kind of setup. With this idea, this takes away having that cylinder head to begin with. But what would happen, it would send the fuel and air down into the top of the barrel, the piston would go up, the valves would open, a spark or something would occur which would ignite the fuel and air mixture, which would the explosion would be the force that would push the piston down and then cause it to then rotate back up again. And this idea uses that sort of principle of something sort of pushing or pulling the piston up or down the barrel in order to create motion. And I will explain how this works. This is all just like machined together parts that have been made using just, if I get it close to the camera screen, it's just got nuts and bolts and bits that are just put together in order to create the setup. And if I turn it up this way, because it hasn't got a cylinder head on it, we can actually, if I angle it there, you can see as I spin the crankshaft, you can see the piston traveling up and down inside the barrel. How this works, and it is just for fun purposes, this would not work as a replacement for internal combustion engines. It might be a fun thing to have as a desktop toy or something, maybe, you know, something like that. But how I've made this to work is I would connect a positive wire onto this terminal here, which is one of the coil windings, because this is copper coil wire, which one end of the strand connects to this, the other end of the long sort of winding comes off and connects to this terminal here, which is a contact point. If I turn it around this way, try and angle it round, bit awkward. Here is basically a contact breaker point. So here, as it spins around, it's on like a cam lobe that's sort of a high point. As it spins around, and then be at a low point, so it pushes a little rod inside here where the spring is, pushes it up and down as the cam lobe rotates. If I spin it around this way, that rod that's inside of here will push up against this metal bendy strand, and as it rotates, it would make contact with that contact point, and then as it rotates it would come back off again. So it would create and disconnect the circuit basically as electrics go. It comes into contact, completes the circuit. You've then got electric running all the way around the system. As it rotates further, it disconnects the circuit, turning it off, and as it spins back around, it creates contact, completing the circuit, turning it back on again. The point of that, and I've had to, where putting this crankshaft together, I've had to work out exactly where I want this cam lobe to be making contact with this point and where I don't want it to be. Is I've done it in a way that it creates contact at a point where this piston will be at a certain position within the barrel. So it would make contact about there, which would be sort of the lowest point, but it's on its when it wants to come back up again. What's going on with the electrics and why it's got core windings and how this works is it's working under electromagnetic force. So when this is making contact on here, completing a circuit, electrical current runs through these coil windings, which creates a magnetic field. The magnetic field will pull the piston up inside the barrel, pulling it upwards, and then once it's come up so far, the contacts disengage, turning it off, meaning that there's no power to this coil winding, so the piston can come back down again where it's got nothing, no electric or no magnetic force pulling it up anymore. It's off, so it can then be allowed to spin round. These here, these two parts here are counterweights, so when it's off, it's carrying on that inertia, that movement is being carried on by these weights, which will pull the piston and crank around until it turns on again, until it completes the circuit and turns on and pulls it back up again. And that's it. That's all there is to this, really. It's quite a simple idea. Plug her onto a battery, which is just behind here. It's a 12 volts battery, running 12 amp hours. I will connect it up to both this terminal and just earth it out on the crank somewhere just to complete the circuit, and then I'll spin it and we'll watch it working basically. I'll put it closer so we can hear the contacts. Oh, there we go. And what I'll do is I'll spin that around so we can see the crank moving instead of the other bit. Oh, there we go. And you can see that spinning round as it so it's always on and off, on and off, on and off, and it can spin up quite quickly at doing so. Features that this obviously just as a more of a model to show that it would work, this theory that using electromagnetic propulsion would work, is an internal combustion engine would have an oil system that would lubricate all of these moving parts, so everything's kind of a little bit better or it's got a coolant system that would help keep this barrel cooler and stuff like that, because working with electrical resistance, because there is resistance that's going on here, a little bit sort of beyond the point of this video I'm making today. I just wanted to show what I've been up to, what I've been making, and sort of give you an idea of how it works. The other idea you could work with is to have a 2-barrel one that's got 2 of these, and have it that one barrel is up and then the other one is down. So it would mean me having to create and modify a different crankshaft to allow for an additional piston and conrod, as this is called, conrod, connecting rod. And you could have one that's up, so you'd have up, down, like that. So you could have one that's on while the other one's off, and then it rotates, spins, turns on, off, and then the other one's on while the other one that's going down is then off. And you would work as perhaps a little bit more of a flow to it, rather than it just being on, off, on, off, as this is. But yeah, it's a bit of fun. It does work. It doesn't have a starter motor, so it's kind of requires me to spin it to start with. But yeah, it does work, at least. This barrel and everything does get quite warm. The barrel and everything does get a bit warm. But yeah, if I disconnect the wiring from it a minute, there we are. Make sure the ends aren't touching. But yeah, interesting point for this is, and why it would just suit as being a model, and not as a replacement for a internal combustion engine, is for 2 main reasons. One, we already have electric motors that do exactly the same as what this does, and their design and construction is a bit different, with less moving parts. This has a lot of moving parts in it. So you have your crankshaft, all of these bits here, the body to hold it together, the piston and barrel that has to move up and down, the contacts that are here that have to turn it on and off, and so forth. There's an awful lot that's going on with this motor to achieve circular motion, sort of rotation from this, that you could perhaps apply a pulley or something that would spin and rotate something else. You couldn't, it would be unfeasible to use this design in anything substantial. For those 2 main reasons, really. But yeah, I just wanted to make it because I had the idea that, oh, that might work. I suppose it would be interesting to see if it did work. Would it? And just be able to show that this basic idea and concept does actually work. So yeah, it's been quite fun to make. It is only a little small motor. I mean, the size of my thumb next to it is quite small, but yeah, it's probably just going to be something that will sit on my shelf and just be an interesting topic to bring up with friends and people and stuff. But yeah, I thought I'd do an actual video on it just to showcase it working. You can see it working, and a little sort of background and on the item, and just share it with you, really. So bit of fun. But yeah, but here we go. An electromagnetic internal combustion engine that doesn't run on fuel or air So it is essentially probably the most eco-friendly internal combustion engine that you can have. But it would be quite heavy because this would be a much bigger version of this. It would be very big because of having lots of moving parts on it. It would be heavier because of it as well, because you're having more parts. It's got more bits there, it's got more weight to it, and stuff like that. It would make more sense really just to have an electric motor like electric cars have now. But yeah, anyway, enough of me sort of waffling. This is a fun design. It's something I've been working on. It's something I had an idea of over 3 years ago. I had the idea for this, so I've only just sort of got round to actually making the damn thing. But yeah, but there we go. I'm quite sort of proud of it really. It does work, and it's interesting. It's just interesting. It's a strange concept. But yeah, but there we go. Thanks for watching. I can't quite work out how to turn on comments so people can actually comment on the videos when I post them to YouTube. I don't actually know how I can turn them on. I'm going to try and research that so people can actually join in, comment on it, say, you know, oh, that's a good idea. Have you thought about using this for it? Or comment perhaps on some of the other videos that I'm doing.